Good evening. My name is Leanne Andreessen. I am the 2023 North Perth Municipal Budget Chair, and I'll be chairing this meeting this evening. Welcome to the special budget meeting for the Municipality of North Perth. Let's begin with our national anthem, O Canada. Please stand if you are able for the singing of our national anthem. We acknowledge that we are on the traditional lands of the Anishinaabe peoples. We wish to acknowledge and recognize the long history of Indigenous peoples of Canada and show our respect to them today. We recognize their stewardship of the land. May we all live in respect of this land and live in peace and friendship. Tonight's meeting is being streamed live on the Municipality of North Perth's YouTube channel, and we will have it available after the meeting as an archived video. Anyone who is invited to speak will be recorded, and their voice, image, and comments will form part of the live stream. The chair and/or the clerk have the discretion and authority at any time to direct the termination or interruption of live streaming. Such direction will only be given in exceptional circumstances where deemed necessary. Circumstances may include instances where the content of the debate is considered misleading, defamatory, or potentially inappropriate to be published. Thank you for your decorum over the course of this meeting as we work collaboratively together. Welcome to those joining us through the Municipality of North Perth YouTube channel. Welcome to councillors, staff, and delegations participating in this meeting. All councillors, our deputy mayor, and mayor are in attendance this evening. And we do have many senior managers joining us online, and they'll be available for questions if any discussion requirements arise. This evening's meeting will focus on the overview of both capital and operations budget expenditures for the 2023 year. This overview will provide both council and the public a complete look at this combined budget as we move forward towards seeking public input. We are now on item 2, pertaining to pecuniary interest. Before we begin, we need to check with councillors regarding pecuniary interest. Provincial legislation requires councillors with a potential pecuniary or financial interest in any item at the council table to declare that interest and remove themselves from discussions and voting on that item. Councillors are required to inform the clerk of pecuniary interest in writing as well. Councillors are reminded that at any time through the course of this meeting, you can inform the chair of potential pecuniary interest, and I invite any councillors to share the potential pecuniary interest during this public session. Does anyone wish to declare pecuniary interest at this time? Okay, seeing none, we'll move on to item 2.2, and that involves our agenda approval. I have a resolution that reads that we need to approve tonight's agenda, and I need a mover and a seconder. Councillor Blazek will move that, and Councillor Rothwell will second that. Any additions or changes to the agenda? And we'll have that vote. And that vote is carried. So we're on to item 3, which involves the consent agenda. And we have the meeting minutes from the March 22nd, 2023 budget meeting. Does anyone have any errors or omissions, changes to point out involving these minutes? Seeing none, I have a resolution that reads that the minutes of the March 22nd, 2023 budget meeting be adopted. Can I have a mover for that? Mayor Kiesenberg, and a seconder, Neil Anstedt. And we'll have that vote. And that is carried. Item 4 is about public hearings, meetings, and delegations. This evening, we don't have any public delegations or presentations booked at this time. And this moves us on to the next item on our agenda, which is item 5, the reports. In item 5, I would like to direct your attention to the ebook in the council agenda. There is a link for the public to use to access this ebook. The ebook has all the information that we'll be discussing this evening as we look at the combined budgets of our capital and operational budgets for 2023. I'll be providing an initial review of this report. I also invite Deputy Treasurer Becky Belfour to make a presentation, and Jessica McLean will also contribute to the presentation this evening as well. So we'll now begin. In preparing for this budget, our community participated in a public survey to share their ideas and priorities for the budget allocations. This budget process involved a 3-tier approach. We involved the process of seeking community input, council input, and staff input. Community input was initially gathered through yoursaynorthperth.ca to identify community ideas and priorities for our budget allocations. All of our budget meetings have been open to the public, recorded, and archived for public viewing at any time. Council also engaged in the visioning process to provide their input and ideas for this budget. Our voices and choices are reflected in the projects that have been included in this budget. Staff identified projects that required attention, and they ranked these projects. Any prior project that was not started last year in 2022 was not considered a carryover right away. These projects were also ranked along with the rest of the projects for 2023. If carryover projects ranked with importance, they were moved into this current year's budget. Let's begin now on page 3 of the ebook, and this will focus primarily on the operational budget. In 2023, our municipality will receive $1,620,900 in funding from the province through the Municipal Partnership Fund. This funding is an equivalent of $272 per household. This is an increase compared to the $1,509,000 received in 2022. This funding has been distributed among all the municipal department operating budgets. I'm now going to draw your attention to the diagram on the next page, and This next page provides a round circular pie chart. There we go. The chart is a good representation of how the operations budget is distributed. This pie chart represents the allocation of $18,184,173 into our operations. In this chart, you will see a few highlights. We are proposing that operations will have 34.9% of the funding. Development and protection services will get 25% of the funding. Facilities will get 14% of the budget. The other allocations are represented in the chart that you can see. Please note that some of the operations are funded solely through user fees, and they are not represented in this operations budget. A total of $12,116,742 in user fees cover services like childcare, the building department, wastewater services, waste management, and also Perth Meadows. As part of the asset management financing strategy approved by Council, $242,000 per year beginning in 2020 is included in the annual operating budget. This should close the funding gap by 2048. The stormwater management area rate for 2023 is estimated at $275,000 and is shared amongst the properties within the stormwater management boundary. This area rate levy provides for future stormwater management services in the built-up area of Listowel, including some of the fringe development areas. This now concludes the overview of the operating budget. Council, do you have any questions at this time for staff about our operating budget or what we're reporting up to this moment in time? Any further questions, clarification needed? We will have an opportunity later on in this meeting to have more debate and discussion, but for now we'll continue on. We're now going to move to page 5 of the ebook, and this is going to move more to the capital budget side. This new capital budget will include some carryover projects and some new projects. These projects are listed in the report. I'm not going to read them all, but I will say that the projects will support different aspects of our community, including the pump station, our transportation master plan, which will continue to move forward and provide preparations to improve traffic. It will also include recreational projects with some of our parks, asphalt resurfacing, and others, to name a few. The overall project cost estimate for 2023 is just over $25.7 million. 68% of the projects are carryover projects, and these capital projects will be totally funded through revenue generated by development charges, reserves, donations, and provincial and federal grant funding. And that's an overview of our capital budget. So we'll begin now to talk about the impact on property taxes. And before I do that, Council, do you have any questions for staff regarding our capital budget so far? Okay, we will continue on. So the next step will be about the impact on property taxes and what that will mean for our community. Here in North Perth, we have some good news to share. Our building department had a busy year in 2022. They issued 415 building permits, which led to the creation of 149 new residential dwelling units. This growth has increased our tax base. This increased tax base allows the cost related to growth to be applied across a great number of properties, therefore spreading the cost out. Property reassessment has not been conducted through MPAC, and 2020 property assessments have been used for the 2023 budget. Let's take a look at how every tax dollar is distributed. And this would be for a breakdown of residential tax dollars. And this is in reference to that blue circle that you see on the right-hand side of the report. You will see a breakdown of three elements of how residential tax dollars are being spent. To begin, school boards will receive 17 cents of every residential tax dollar. Our county, Perth County, will receive 22 cents of every residential tax dollar. And North Perth, our own municipality, will receive 61 cents of that residential tax dollar. The North Perth 2023 tax levy increase is going to be $1,452,968 for local municipal purposes. From last year, this represents an increase of 8.7%. However, it's really much more improved than that. Due to the increase of households in North Perth, this increase is redistributed, and the impact is really actually 3.6%. This represents 31 cents per day. Actual percentage change will depend on any individual assessment changes and specific relative tax classes. This amount includes the list to award and fringe areas for the stormwater management levy. Let's now turn to page 6 and 7 of the ebook. And on this part of the report, this will show us some property tax examples with user fees for an average town property and an average farm property. So let's begin. $450,000 off. We're going to consider that for an average residential home. And for that average residential town property with property tax, stormwater levy, a small waste bin, and an average water sewer bill, the average increase per year will be $232.13 per year, which means 63 cents per day. So I brought a bucket with me today to show you how that's going to work. So here's the residential bucket for an average home with $450,000 at that assessment rate, and they would need to put aside 63 cents per day to cover that increase. Put that right there. We'll have a visual for us. So let's move to the farm assessment. So on a typical farm assessment for 1.4 million type of farm, and that would include a residence of $182,500. And for that farm property with farm taxes and a farm residence, a small waste bin, the increase per year would be $238 per year, which is 65 cents per day. So to represent that in this bucket, 65 cents in that bucket. Just give a visual for us. So I want to draw your attention to this chart for the 2023 combined budget. And that is on the next page on the right-hand side that's been posted there on the ebook. I want to draw your attention to this chart. It's the combined budget for 2023. You will see that there are no cost expenses noted for the sewers or for Perth Meadows. Through user fees, these items fund themselves and don't require additional budget allocations. I'm going to invite Deputy Treasurer Becky Belfour. She will come forward and walk us through some project highlights for this upcoming budget. I'd like you to reference pages 8 to 13 in the ebook and she will make some notes as we go along in her presentation about some of the key projects and some of the projects that will be carried over for 2023. Welcome, Becky.
Thank you, Leanne. Thank you, Leanne.
You gave a good synopsis of the 2023 budget, which is included. So note the capital project details. $25,752,990 is the capital projects for 2023. It was mentioned at the presentation for capital, could it be identified as to what projects were allocated for last year. So $17,444,390 is the 2022 amount that was brought forward. We didn't call them all carryovers, as Leanne had indicated. They just got put in the mix and evaluated. If there was no money spent on them in 2022, they just moved to 2023 as a new project. So at the presentation for capital, facilities, accessible door ramps for St. Mary's Childcare was noted, but was not included in your package at that time. So that includes this for $40,264, as well as the water department noted at that time, $53,000 for a four-wheel drive pickup truck. That has also been added into this new project details. Also at the end of the package, from the January 11th budgeting visioning registry, we have updated the registry to include a budget section column that tells you how much was budgeted in operating and how much was budgeted in capital for any of the budget visioning items that were addressed at that meeting. So you can refer to that for future reference. I believe everything that was discussed at the visioning meeting has been addressed and either captured in operating or capital, or letters have been sent out to the various organizations or third parties to address any of those items. So during the operating budget presentation, I did indicate that I had reduced the tax write-off from $306,000 to $250,000. I was a little unsure of the implications. However, we received information from MPAC regarding the tax incentive approval program for farm properties that revert from farm to residential year-end assessment, as well as I also received the information for the new farm forestry exemption. So I wanted to see those numbers before we actually did finalize. This year, we will have 13 tax incentive approvals, which will equate to approximately $136,535 in write-offs for North Perth portion. In 2022, we had 21, and in 2021, we had 36 properties. So we're considerably down for the tax incentive approval. That's good for us. January 1st, 2023, changes were made to the farm forestry exemption through the Assessment Act. Previously, tax exemption applied to 1 acre of forested land for every 10 acres of farmland and could not exceed 20 acres in any one municipality. The provincial government increased the farm forestry exemption acreage cap from 20 to 30 to keep pace with the growth of farm size from 2023 to subsequent years. This increase was to promote and support local farms across Ontario. We have 143 properties, and I knew there were a significant number of properties, but until we received that information, I didn't know what that kind of calculation was going to look like. However, it only equates for the North Perth share to be around $18,029, which is great. So therefore, I feel that the allocated amount for write-offs for 2023 is sufficient. So at this time, I'd like to thank senior staff for their patience with the implementation of the new GL structure, and as well as the new budget software. I can only see great things for staff and council coming from the implementation of this program. I look forward to appointing the new chair and co-chair for 2024 budget. I know that seems early as soon as this budget is passed, but this will allow for direction and policy changes so we can make earlier presentation for 2024. At this time, I'll entertain any questions.
Thank you, Ms. Belfour. Any questions?
Given what you just presented. No? All right, thank you. At this time, I'm going to invite Jessica McLean to come forward, and she'll be speaking to the 2023 budget consultation follow-up, which identifies how key issues were raised by the public and by council and how they've been addressed in this budget. You will see they are presented in the ebook as well, and I believe it's on page 14 and 15 of the ebooks, or 14 and on. So welcome, Ms. McLean. You can go ahead.
Thank you, Chair Andreessen. So as stated on this page, we have highlighted how components of the proposed 2023 capital and operating budget address some key concerns that were identified by residents in the pre-budget survey. The number one concern in the survey was traffic issues. There were projects outlined in the 2023 Public Works Department budget that would address traffic issues, including the completion of the Transportation Master Plan, which would include a report back to Council in the next month. Additionally, the beginning stages of the Listowel Bypass Plan were introduced in the 2022 budget, and further funding was included in the 2023 capital budget. Another concern facing residents in the survey was growth, development, and infrastructure. There are numerous projects throughout the 2023 capital budget that address the need to maintain and enhance current infrastructure. This includes roadwork projects and replacing bridges and culverts. The 2023 operating budget also includes funding for routine maintenance of existing infrastructure. Lastly, there were concerns raised in the pre-budget survey regarding healthcare recruitment. The municipality's annual allocation for physicians in recruitment has been increased by $10,000 in the 2023 operating budget, and that is for a total of $20,000. Staff time and in-kind support is also anticipated in this initiative through participation on the North Perth Recruitment Committee. And I can answer any questions council may have.
Thank you, Ms. McLean. So as you can see, we've got some really good themes going with our budget, and it has really touched on many of the concerns that residents have raised. I don't see any questions of clarification, so thank you very much.
Thank you.
So council, we are now on item 6 of our agenda, and this is an opportunity for us as a council to engage in any discussion or debate about these proposed budgets. If we need further information, we can call upon our staff who are here in person in the chambers or also online. If required, I can make a speakers list, and that will allow us all to participate, and we can relax the rules of debate a little bit for this purpose. Does anyone want to make comments or ask questions at this time? Councillor Rothwell, go ahead.
Chair Andreessen, I appreciate that. Could we just ask Becky Belford to come forward again? I just need clarification on the exemption for the forested parts. I thought I had it, and then I was thinking again. So just if we could get clarification,
Certainly.
I appreciate that.
Sure.
I just want to confirm, so this exemption, is this for farms that have like a forest exemption, like a tree planting or whatever through the either a conservation authority or Ministry of Natural Resources and Forestry, or how do they get to 143 properties? I'm just wondering.
They already are established that they have a forest exemption on their property, and through the act that got changed that anyone who had 20 acres, it's been now allowed up to 30 acres.
Okay.
I believe my notes were tax exemption applied to the acres of 1 acre of forested land for every 10 acres of farmland. So it's forested land. So there is under the act, Assessment Act, if you've got a certain amount of acres of forest on your land, that's where this exemption comes from, through the Assessment Act.
All right. Thank you very much. It's clear now. Yeah.
Thank you for that question. It's good to get that clarified. Anyone else have questions or comments to make at this time? Councillor Johnston, go ahead.
Thank you, Chair. Just a comment about the whole budget. Firstly, thank you to staff. I know how much effort has gone into presenting this. Becky, I know that a lot of hours of your time go into this, so thank you for making it smooth for an old farmer to figure out. And thank you to Chair Andreessen and Vice Chair Anstead for making this flow very smoothly. And I think I said it last meeting, this budget is aggressive but progressive. And I think that's what North Perth needs at this time. I think it's a very fair budget, and I'm fully in favor of it. So thank you to the chair, vice chair, and all senior staff for a great effort, and all the council for a great discussion over our many budget meetings.
Thank you, Councillor Johnston. Appreciate that. Any other points of discussion or questions, clarification? Oh, Councillor Rothwell.
Thanks very much, Chair Andreessen. I can certainly echo Councillor Johnson's comments. One more item for clarification from Becky Beaufort, if I may, is the specific conversation and good news that we have a significant amount of growth that's coming on, which helps spread the burden of tax burden through more properties within our municipality. One issue of concern which this council and staff have expressed with the Municipal Property Assessment Corporation is getting that new assessment on the tax roll. I'm wondering if Ms. Belfour could talk to us specifically about any progress that we've had with MPAC in that respect, and hopefully we won't have to sort of discount any tax burden because it's not coming on our assessment roll as soon as it possibly should. So
it's a good question. Thank you. We'll have Ms. Belfour come and speak to that. Thank you.
I'm not sure I can offer too much on that regard. We did have a treasurers meeting last week, and MPAC did speak. And at this time, there's no new news that we're aware of that we're going to have anything coming forward. Hopefully, still not too late to hear. There could be some things in the works, but we haven't seen or heard too much yet. So.
Good. Thanks very much. I was hopeful, but unfortunately, that's the answer I suspect that we were going to have, because this is not something new. And outside of the issues of the budget, I think this council needs to sort of reinforce our steps in calling for MPAC to get the additional resources they need to do the job that they're supposed to do for all municipalities in Ontario to all of our benefits. As I say, if we have development that's coming on stream, is built and actually could be in use, and they're not being taxed in this tax year, that's a problem for all of us. But anyways, that's another day. It's definitely related to the budget, but as I say, I appreciate the answer. It's not the one I was hoping for, but thank you.
With regard to what I thought you asked was the assessment for the 4-year phase-in. They are actually doing much better with ensuring that we get our assessments in a timely fashion. We are working very closely with them all of the time, and severances seem to be coming faster. The TIAs, this was great this year that we're only going to have 13. So we are still working with them, but I think it's faster than it used to be. I know we had some, but we stay in touch and we work very closely with them.
Mayor Kasenberg, go ahead.
Yes, thank you, Chair Andreessen. I'm wondering if, as a council, we should request a report from staff about that matter, about the performance of assessment time from MPAC, including the number of properties that are in 60, 90, 120 days delayed from MPAC receiving the final documentation that they need to commission a survey or a study assessment, I guess is what they do, right? It makes sense to me that we should continue to monitor those data carefully And I think, certainly Councillor Rothwell has raised his concern about it. I too remain concerned, and it would be interesting to have that data reported periodically to council. So I'm going to suggest perhaps as one of our council directions is that we direct staff to bring forward a report. I don't know what the timeline is. Maybe it's, the last 6 months about time to review or time to data collection from MPAC versus when they were served with the paper pack there, the documentation pack that they needed.
And that would like broken down severances, prans, that sort of thing.
I would assume that that's, whatever makes sense in terms of giving us reasonable divisions of to support understanding. But certainly, I think we should keep our eyes on this as a council as well. And I know certainly that there have been a few resolutions in the last term of council that encouraged MPAC to do its part and encourage the province to do its part to bring in the new assessment framework. So,
Okay.
if it helps, I'll make a motion to that effect.
Certainly. So Mayor Kasenberg is making a motion to receive a report in the future for an update about the progress MPAC is making with assessments. Is that capturing your thoughts at this time?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, so Mayor Kasenberg makes that motion. Councillor Rothwell is seconding that motion. Clerk Klein, are you okay with that now? Can we, is there any further discussion or debate around that motion at this time? No? Okay, we'll call that vote then. Oh, e-scribe. I apologize. My e-scribe has fallen asleep on me. There we go. Okay, that vote is carried. Thank you. Thank you for those questions of clarification and the comments so far. I invite councillors to, share any other questions you might have or comments you have at this time. Okay, seeing none, I think we're going to move forward. In the past, we've had budget presentations by the Boys of Britain. So this year, it has been the pleasure to be part of the A team. So it's the A team that's making the presentation for budgets. And the A team stands for Team Andreessen and Team Anstedt. The A team. Neil Anstedt and I will be working on the presentation this year for the public coming up. This presentation will be created in the next few weeks and will be available for the public. And the public will have access to it hopefully on April the 17th. Our community will have an opportunity to make comments and provide further input from April 17th to April 24th for the entirety of 1 week. Comments can be shared on yoursaynorthperth.ca or by making comments on paper through a form that will be available at our local libraries or here at the municipal offices. These forms will need to be submitted to the municipal office by April the 24th, or the completion of the survey through Your Say North Perth should be completed by April the 24th. The budget will come to council for final passing on May the 1st. I realize that it has been a delayed process this year, and we will be appointing a new budget chair and co-chair on or shortly after May 1st, and budget preparations for 2024 will actually begin very, very shortly, with the goal of finishing the budget much earlier than what has happened this year. And we're very proud to be able to use this new software, which will allow us to be able to do the budget much more efficiently in the future. So the budget isn't actually fully approved this evening. We do want our community to have a chance to provide comments and input. And today's resolution will focus on accepting this report at this time. And the resolution reads as follows. Okay, sorry. That the Council of the Municipality of North Perth supports that the 2023 capital and operating budgets be virtually presented to the public by the budget chair and vice chair, the A team, the week of April 17th, 2023, to seek public input. Can I have someone make that motion? Councillor Neil Anstett, and seconded by Mark Nordham. Is there any discussion or debate at this time, Council? If not, we'll call the vote. And that motion is carried. This now takes us to item 8, our confirmatory bylaw. Council, we've had the chance to see the final operation and capital budgets for 2023 from all of our departments. We have engaged in debate and discussion. We will need to move forward with the confirmatory bylaw. It reads as follows, that bylaw number 36-2023, being a bylaw to confirm generally previous actions of the Council of the Municipality of North Perth, be introduced, read, and considered read a first, second, and third time, and be finally passed, and that the said bylaw be signed by the Mayor and the Clerk and sealed with the seal of the corporation. Thank you. Deputy Mayor Kelm will make that motion, and seconded by Matt Richardson. Any questions at this time? I'll call that vote. And that is carried. We're now in item 9, which is adjournment. And before we adjourn, I just want to thank our budget team, including Tiffany Anker, Jessica McLean, Councillor Anstett, Deputy Treasurer Becky Balfour, and our Treasurer Francis Hale, and all of our staff department managers. We feel confident that the combined capital and operations budget will meet the needs of our community and will set up the municipality of North Perth for continued and sustainable growth and prosperity in 2023. We look forward to comments from the public and thank everyone for their engagement in developing the future of North Perth through the 2023 budget process. Can I have someone make a motion to adjourn this evening? Councillor Blazek will make the motion, and Councillor Richardson will second that. This isn't a debatable item, and we'll call the vote. And that is carried. I note that this meeting is now adjourned at 7:43 p.m. Thank you.